Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Okay, good morning. Today I'll be discussing with you about carburation system and fuel injection system, particularly in the context of spark ignition engine. Okay, because fuel injection systems are also used in the context of 4-stroke and 2-stroke diesel engines. But what we will be focusing will be primarily the spark ignition engine. Now you will be wondering with this picture of a carburetor that carburetor is a technology which is obsolete and it's of no modern context. Is that what you believe? Yes, that's what you believe, or that's what you are made to believe. But let me correct the facts here. Carburetor technology is out of the window for only 4-wheeler application. If you look at 2-wheeler application, carburetor is the technology that is being used for induction of fuel into the engine. There are very, very few bikes or 2-wheelers which have fuel injection systems. And just to put things in perspective, please understand that 80% of the total number of registered vehicles in India today use this technology. 80% are 2-wheelers, and out of those 80%, maybe less than 1% high-end bikes use fuel injection system. Rest of the 99% of the 2-wheelers use carburetor technology. That is why it is imperative that you try to improve the carburetor technology, and it is there to stay because India is a very price sensitive market. The moment you try to introduce fuel injection pump, fuel injector, electronic control module, the cost shoots up. And up to Euro 4, carburetor is easily able to meet all the emission regulations, which is emission regulations for 2-wheelers in India is one of the most stringent in the world. Please consider this, that Harley Davidson, which is the iconic motorcycle of United States, does not, US practically does not have any emission norm for 2-wheelers because the numbers are so small there, they don't need to. But in our case, 80% of the vehicles, we can't afford to have no emission norms. So therefore, they are one of the most stringent set of emission norms for 2-wheelers which are applicable in India. And in this context, with this background, it becomes extremely important for us to actually consider that 2-stroke is a relevant, the carburation is a relevant technology for the 2-wheelers. Okay. So the SI engines are normally fed with fuel, which most cases is basically gasoline, okay, or petrol. But nowadays, there is a lot of drive towards introducing ethanol and methanol as well. So fuel could be normal gasoline or methyl or ethyl alcohols or blends of the two fuels, and which is sufficient. All these fuels are sufficiently volatile, and they have ignition property which allowed it to be mixed with the combustion air before the combustion is initiated by a spark plug. Okay, so the fuel has to be mixed properly, and it has to be brought within the flammability range in order to start the combustion with the use of a spark plug. So in SI engine, the liquid fuel and the air which contains the necessary oxygen, they are mixed prior to arrival in the combustion chamber. And where they are mixed? They are mixed inside the carburetor. So in SI engine, when the fuel is premixed with air, it is necessary to control the air flow rate, and therefore indirectly you are controlling the air fuel mixture strength as well. Okay. Now this is as far as the story of the spark ignition engine goes. When it comes to compression ignition engine or diesel engines, one of the major difference between the diesel and gasoline is that diesel is not volatile at all. We have seen that its volatility curve really starts at around 120, 130 degrees C. Okay, and air is only mixed inside the combustion chamber. So, fuel is less volatile and it is mixed with the air in the combustion chamber at the end of the compression stroke, where the conditions are extreme conditions. That means the pressure is high, the temperature is high. So, pressure and temperature conditions are high and they are high enough to actually breach the auto ignition temperature of the fuel. So, every small droplet will start burning by itself. Okay. So, that is what happens, and they induce natural ignition. There is no spark plug. The fuel properties itself allow the combustion of every individual droplet to take place inside the engine combustion chamber. So, therefore, the power delivery of the engine may be adjusted to fuel delivery alone. You do not really have to worry about the air fuel mixture strength. If you are having high load condition, you inject more fuel. If you are having low load condition, you inject very little quantity of fuel. Okay. And you do not need to control the airflow, because each droplet is burning independently. But in the case of SI engine, you need to control the air fuel mixture as well. So, if you are having low load condition, you have to control the fuel, but then you have to also control the air, and then you also require to control the air fuel mixture ratio. So, it is more complicated in SI engines. Okay. So, the fuel air mixture can be prepared. Now, I am talking in the context of SI engine only. So, from here onwards, all the discussion is in the context of SI engine only. So, air fuel mixture can be prepared either by a carburetor or by a fuel injection system. So, either you can have a small injector which is located in the manifold and injecting the fuel and preparing the fuel air mixture just before the intake valve in the manifold, or you can have a carburetor that also is in the intake manifold. So, in both of these cases, the fuel will be present in the inlet manifold as vapor, liquid droplets and a thin film. So, in the intake manifold, that is bringing the air fuel mixture in, you will have vaporized fuel, you will have liquid droplets which are floating around in the intake, and you will also have around the walls of the manifold, there will be a thin film. So, all these three things are present. If you look at carburetor, carburetor was actually patented around the same time as auto ignition engines were developed, almost at the same time, and it was patented by Carl Benz, okay, the owner of Mercedes-Benz. And this type, there were two main types. First one was fixed jet or fixed venturi type, and then the other one is variable jet or variable venturi type. And then there were fuel injection systems which came much later. Okay. So, if I have to draw a diagram and explain the difference, this is my intake, this is my exhaust. If I have to use a carburetor, I will put a carburetor here. And here you will have fuel coming in and also the air coming in. These are mixed and then they are taken in. This is carburetor. Okay. So, its main role is basically to prepare fuel air mixture. So, when the fuel air mixture comes in, this is a mixture of fuel vapors, air, fuel droplets, and then there may be some thin film which is also sticking to the valves of the inlet manifold. When the valves open, this trickles down. Okay. The other technology that we are discussing is fuel injection technology. So, in the fuel injection technology, instead of a carburetor, you have a solenoid injector where the fuel is coming in. Okay. So, the air comes from here, and in the air stream you are actually injecting fuel droplets, and this is the reason where the fuel and air mixture will get accumulated. As soon as the valve open, the fuel air mixture will come in. So, in any case, when the valve open, intake manifold will contain not just air, it will also contain the vapors of the fuel, okay, in a spark ignition engine. So, fuel injection systems for SI engines, basically they could be a single point fuel injection, that means this is a single point, okay. You have one injector per cylinder. So, only one point you are doing the injection. Suppose you have a multi-cylinder engine, okay. So, suppose you have a multi-cylinder engine, say 4-cylinder engine, and I will just show the intakes, okay. I am not making the details. Suppose this is a 4-cylinder engine. So, obviously you will have one injector here, one injector here, one injector for every cylinder, and in the center also you have another injector, okay. So, now can you call it single point injection? It is a multi-point injection, because now one cylinder is catered by more than one injectors, okay. Now, coming to the diesel engines, diesel engine they do not use the carburetor, diesel engine always use fuel injection system, and the main difference between this injection system and this injection system is that normally, except GDI, if you are talking of MPFI engine technology which is prevalent today, the injection takes place in the manifold. However, now we have very modern engines which are also called gasoline direct injection engines, where the injection is done directly in the cylinder and not in the manifold. I will talk about it later, maybe in advanced course, but this is just to mention that there are now it is possible to have direct injection in the cylinder for gasoline as well. In case of CI engines, the fuel is always injected in the cylinder itself. For example, if this is your cylinder and this is your intake manifold, this is your exhaust manifold, injector will be located here. So, the fuel is coming from here, air is coming from here, this is your intake valve, this is your exhaust valve, air comes in, and when the piston goes up towards the end of the compression stroke, you have multiple jets coming out, okay. So, this is the situation in case of a diesel engine, it is directly injected in the cylinder. Now, to do that, actually there are many types of systems. There are some systems which are mechanical fuel injection systems, okay. So, that means there is no electronic control. For example, pump line injector system, okay. There is inline pump system, there is rotary pump system, and then there is electronic unit injector. So, these are all mechanical, but here you have you see there is introduction of electronics. The moment you introduce electronics into the fuel injection, you get extremely high degree of flexibility and control, right. So, that means now your injection can be extremely precise, timing can be changed without much of a problem, okay. So, you can have much better control on combustion, and as a result you can have much better control on the pollutant formation as well as on the fuel economy, the power output, all these things go up. So, this is actually the line in which these systems have evolved. So, these are some of the most primitive systems, and then you have electronic unit injection systems and common rail direct injection system, which are also called CRDI systems. Okay, so, these are all fuel injection systems for diesel engines, these are all fuel injection system for the gasoline engine, and these are the carburetor systems for gasoline engines. So, this is the entire landscape of fuel induction systems for different types of engines, okay. So, let us see. One of the most important requirement is that gasoline must be vaporized and mixed with air in proper proportion for varying conditions. Do you think that once if you are idling the engine, or you are middle load condition or full load condition, is the air fuel mixture requirement same? Does it remain same, or does it need to change? It should be changed naturally. So, that means you have your carburetor should be able to cater to all the changing load and speed conditions. It is not that it has to give the same mixture strength all the time, it has to vary depending on the expectations of the engine or the requirements of the engine. So, the process of producing a mixture of air and fuel in the correct proportion for the engine combustion is called carburation. Okay. So, here you see a simple cartoon is shown where the combustion is happening anyway, it does not have much of information. So, a carburetor is a device that blends air and fuel for an internal combustion engine, and this is on a very high level how a carburetor looks like. I will explain this to you because understanding it is very important, and then the discussion will follow. So, you see this is the intake filter, air filter. Okay. Air whenever enters, the first thing it encounters is filter. Why? Because you do not want any particles or dust to go into your engine. Air, it may look clean, but it has lot of particles. If you look at the beam which is coming out of this projector, you can identify the particles. So, in this room we are all the time inhaling the particles. Our filter is located in our nose. Similarly, the engine filter is shown here, and its job is to make sure it has to arrest all the particles and allow as low number of particles as possible in the flow, because if there are more particles, obviously they will go into the combustion chamber, and if they are non-carbonaceous, they will not burn. They will come in between the piston ring and liner interface and cause more wear of the engine, and engine durability will be affected. So, anyway, the air comes in, and then you have a choke valve. Choke valve under normal condition is straight, so it does not pose any restriction. When do you want to take choke? When your engine is not starting. So, then you make it horizontal. Once you make it horizontal, very small amount of air comes in. I will tell you how it works. So, for the time being, this is the choke location, that is all you understand. How it works, I will explain later. And then you see this air is coming, and suddenly you see a reduction in the cross sectional area. You want to do that because this is called throat of a carburetor. What happens is when the air flows through such a throat, the velocity of the air increases. Obviously, it acts like a nozzle, and once the velocity increases, obviously the pressure will reduce. And here you have a float chamber, and there is fuel in it, and there is a float. Now, this float is filled with a valve. So, whenever there is this level, no fuel will come in, and this is connected to the throat. So, here the pressure is atmospheric pressure, here the pressure is subatmospheric pressure, because now the velocity of the air has increased. So, there is a nozzle here. So, from the nozzle, just because of the pressure difference, the fuel will ooze out, and once it oozes out in the form of a jet, it will break down because the air is moving in this direction, and then you will have droplets coming in, and so fuel will mix with the air and go down. Now, since the fuel is emptying from here, this float will sink, and once this sink, this valve will open, and this valve will raise the level. So, that is how you constantly maintain a fixed level in the carburetor. So, carburetor is always supplied with the fuel. Okay. So, this is the basic principle. This is called venturi, the small cross sectional area or throat. Here you form the air fuel mixture, and finally you have a throttle valve. What is the throttle valve? Throttle valve is also a valve which is directly connected to your accelerator. So, more you pull, more vertical it will become. So, more vertical it becomes means it will allow more and more quantity of fuel air mixture to go in. Under normal condition, closed condition, this is closed. Okay. This is float chamber, this is float, and the gas. Gas does not mean gas, this is gas is gasoline or petrol. So, petrol is coming in from here, air is going from here, and this is where the mixture formation takes place. So, this is the carburetor working on a very, very high level. If you have understood it, then I will tell you what more complications are introduced in this device. So, induction system is responsible for preparing correct air fuel mixture of desired strength and directing the mixture to each of the cylinder. So, if there is a multi-cylinder engine, here you have seen that if it is a multi-cylinder engine, for every cylinder you have one fuel injector. But if it was a carburetor, you will not have these injectors, you will have just one carburetor here. So, then one single carburetor will provide the air fuel mixture to all the cylinders. Okay. So, carburetor is the main part of the induction system. Liquid fuel is supplied to the carburetor from the fuel system. Fuel system means tank and supply lines, etc., etc. So, air is drawn into the carburetor from the atmosphere by the action of the engine piston and intake stroke. So, when the piston goes down, obviously you are creating some vacuum, and just because of the shear vacuum, this fuel air mixture will be sucked in. You can see here, this is the intake valve, this is the exhaust valve, and this is the combustion chamber. So, when the piston goes down, obviously here exhaust is going out at 1 atmosphere, but when the piston goes down, the pressure here falls to below 0.3 bar. So, that means now it will suck the fuel and air mixture through the carburetor, and then mixture will be prepared in the carburetor itself. How much will be this depression of this pressure? It depends on how much the throttle is open. Okay. So, air is drawn into the carburetor from atmosphere by the action of engine piston and intake stroke. Most of the automobile engine induct air directly into the carburetor through the air cleaner. So, through the intake manifold, fuel and air mixtures travel from the carburetor to the cylinders, and the throttle is located in the carburetor, which regulates the quantity of this air fuel mixture generated by the carburetor, which is entering the cylinder. So, basically how much mixture needs to be allowed to go into the engine is controlled by throttle. So, during the suction stroke, vacuum created in the cylinder causes the inlet air to flow through the carburetor, and the fuel is sprayed from the fuel jets into the inlet stream. I explained to you just now. Most of the fuel vaporize and forms a combustible fuel air mixture because of the high volatility of the fuel. It is a highly volatile fuel, gasoline, ethanol, methanol, these are all highly volatile fuels. So, important factors which affect the process of carburation include how much time is available for mixture preparation. If you are doing very fast, the fuel droplet may not evaporate, but if you are giving it sufficient time, you will have reasonably good vaporization. Then what is the temperature of the incoming air? If it is cold air, say -10 outside, the carburation quality will be bad, and if it is 40, it will be extremely good. So, that is why in the summertime you do not experience starting problems in the morning, but in winter times you do, because of the temperature affecting the process of carburation, because of the volatility issues. And that is why you remember when we were discussing the fuel, I told that there is a winter gasoline is different from summer gasoline, because then oil companies would like to put lighter fractions, more lighter fractions, so that in the cold conditions it can start the engine without much of a difficulty. Third factor is quality of the fuel that is supplied. Again, that is related to vaporization properties, and then design of the induction system and the combustion chamber is another factor which affects the process of carburation. Okay. Now, let us look at combustion chemistry. So, we assume the fuel gasoline to be isooctane. The molecular formula is C8H18. We have done this before also. When it reacts with oxygen, so obviously 12.5 moles of oxygen plus you can multiply 12.5 with 3.76 to get the moles of nitrogen. It gives you 8 moles of carbon dioxide, 9 moles of water and 47 moles of nitrogen. So, this is at a very high level the combustion of isooctane. Okay. So, but when you do the mass balance, you will see that for each kilogram of fuel you will require about 14.5 to 15 kilograms of air. So, we can calculate that for complete combustion there must be 14.5 to 15 kilogram of the air for every kilogram of petrol or isooctane. Okay. So, stoichiometric air fuel ratio in this case is 14.7 to 1. So, the quantity of fuel calculated by this method is an ideal amount necessary to react completely with all the oxygen present in the air. So, no oxygen is to be seen in the product, no carbon monoxide is to be seen in the product. So, this is ideal condition. Therefore, this air fuel ratio is known as stoichiometric air fuel ratio or chemically correct, but this is ideal situation and life is not ideal. So, when you provide only 14.7, you will always see some oxygen coming, you will always see some carbon monoxide also coming, you will also see some hydrocarbons coming out. Okay. So, the chemically correct air fuel mixture is not a mandatory condition for the engine operation. That means you can sway on both sides. Okay. When you want economy, which way you would like to sway? When you want fuel economy, you would like to go to lean. So, that means you would like to have 16, 17, maybe 18, and when you want to have more power, you do not worry about economy, then you would like to make it rich. So, you would like to go to say 13, 12, something like that. Okay. So, I think I have shown you this figure earlier also, that if you start making air fuel ratio on this axis, so anything beyond 30 homogeneous air fuel mixture you cannot ignite. So, it is too lean, and this is more than 7 is too rich, it will just not burn. Okay. So, practical limit, I mean the limit, ignition limit for hydrocarbon is between 7 to 30. Okay. This is under most ideal conditions, but in the engine everything is happening fast. So, it is not really the ideal conditions that you have. So, practical limit for the engine therefore is much shorter. So, practical limit is between 9 to 21, or even, I mean 21 I have not seen, 20 or even maybe 18, 19, that is what you. So, you do not really go too lean, because the moment you try to go too lean, you will have misfiring issues in the engine. Okay. So, the point that I want to make here is that the range of air fuel ratios for a practical engine for all load conditions, whether it is idling, cruising or high power, you have the flexibility to move only in this zone. And why it is important? Because this is what is expected to be delivered by the carburetor. If your engine fails to, if your carburetor fails to deliver, customer will not be satisfied, your engine will not be operating, right. So, the carburetor must fulfill the following functions: meter the liquid fuel in current quantity to produce the air fuel ratio required to cater all the engine operating conditions. Okay. For example, and then atomize the fuel, whatever jet is coming out, you have to, it has, the carburetor has to ensure that the jet is broken into small droplet, because finer will be the droplets, quicker will be the vaporization, more homogeneous will be the mixture formation, right. So, atomize the fuel, mix it homogeneously with the air, that is what is expected. So, carburetor must be designed to provide as nearly as possible air fuel ratio which the engine requires. Now, I want to ask you something. Suppose you are idling, okay, you are idling the engine. So, what happens during the idling? What kind of air fuel ratio you will need? Will you need stoichiometric, will you need rich, or will you need lean at idling conditions? You will need rich, because in idling condition your throttle is almost closed. So, the air flow velocity is extremely small, and idling you are just starting the engine, everything is cold. Okay. So, at that time you have to put extra quantity of fuel in order to start the engine. Okay. When you are cruising at say 60 kilometers an hour, at that time what kind of air fuel ratio would you like to have? At that time you would like to have as lean as possible, because you would like your engine to run mostly in the cruising, and that is when you would like to have best economy. When you want to have economy, obviously you would like to have leaner fuel air mixture ratio. And suppose you are at a traffic light and you want to accelerate fast, or there is a race and there is a truck coming from the front and you want to give full power that you have in order to avoid an accident. At that time, will you care about the economy, or you will care about getting more power, maximum power output from your engine? Maximum power output. So, what would you do in that case? Obviously, you would like to enrich the mixture. So, I think the demand is pretty clear. I mean, when you are at no load or low load condition, the carburetor should be able to enrich the mixture. When you are cruising at a certain speed, the carburetor should be able to give you desired quantity with relatively leaner mixture, leaner than stoichiometric. and when you want acceleration, high power output from the engine, at that time your carburetor should be able to give you rich fuel air mixture. Okay. So this figure explains this all. This is power output on the y axis and air fuel ratio, kilograms of air per kilograms of fuel on the x axis. This is stoichiometric at 15. If you look at brake specific fuel consumption, when would you get the best BSFC, brake specific fuel consumption? Obviously you will get it around 16, mixture slightly linear, that is when you get the best economy. Okay. And that is what in cruising you would like to obtain this. Okay. And the best power output comes out at 12. Okay. Power output of the engine drops when you obviously are making the mixture linear. Okay. And this side obviously you do not have enough air. So about here also you will be wasting 20% fuel, but that is when it gives you the best power output. Okay. This is brake specific fuel consumption. So the mixture corresponding to the maximum point on the BHP curve is called the best power mixture, and the mixture corresponding to minimum points on the BSFC curve is called the best economy mixture. So this is the best economy mixture and this is the best power mixture. Okay. And depending on the condition, depending on the circumstances, your carburetor should be able to deliver both and everything in between. Okay. So this figure is based on full throttle, wide open throttle, WOT. The best power mixture is richer than chemically correct. You can see this is chemically correct. This is best power mixture, and the best economy mixture is leaner than stoichiometric mixture. So the air fuel ratio for best power and best economy at part throttle are not strictly the same as full load. This you have to keep in mind. Carburetor could be set for best power mixture when performance, maximum performance is desired, such as your Formula 1 cars that you make. At that time you will set your carburetor to give you best power mixture. But when it comes to your own motorcycle, okay, you do not worry about best power, you worry about best economy. So then you set your mixture to set your carburetor to deliver you best economy mixture when the economy is the prime consideration. In fact, in India we are one of the world leaders in technology for 4-stroke two-wheelers. The Indian two-wheelers are one of the most efficient two-wheelers in the entire world. In 1 liter you can travel as much as 80 to 90 kilometers. Nowhere in the world you will find a two-wheeler that will give you that kind of mileage, because we just economize everything. Our power output is so little, 100cc engine is so little that one person with maybe his wife and his child, one child, can ride and cruise at 50, 60, 70 kilometer an hour without much of a problem. And we set everything as best economy mixture. That is how we are able to extract most mileage from the two-wheelers. Okay. So there are generally 3 ranges of throttle operation. In each of these the engine has different requirement. For example, idling, I have already told you, when you are idling the mixture must be enriched. When you are cruising means you are operating the engine steadily at a certain speed, 50, 60, 70, 80 kilometers an hour. Then the mixture must be lean because you would like to take advantage of best fuel economy, and the high power where you are enriching the mixture. And obviously your carburetor should be able to satisfy all of this. Okay. So here you see the maximum efficiency occurs for air fuel ratio of 16:17:1. Okay. Minimum efficiency occurs at a point slightly leaner than chemically correct air fuel ratio, because the mixing is not perfect and XSA is required for the completion. So there are different throttle conditions are shown here. This is one condition, this is another condition, and this is the BSFC. And BSFC, if you look, this is at a air fuel ratio of 16 or 17. Okay. Let us look at the example of the most simple carburetor. So you have this intake valve, so the air is coming from here. This is your choke. When do you pull choke? So, you pull the choke when you would like to have rich mixture, you are starting the vehicle. Okay, I will tell you how we do it, and this is the float chamber, and this is the float, and this is the valve, float valve. So, when the float goes down, this valve opens and the more fuel will come in. This is fuel line coming from the fuel tank, and this is the throat of the venturi, and here you have the nozzle. Please look at this level, the nozzle is longer than this level. Why you want to do that? Because when you are parked the vehicle, you do not want the fuel to come out. If this is at the same level, fuel will just keep on coming even when the engine is not started. So, that is why you give some, this is called fuel metering jet lip, that you provide a small jet lip, so that even when you put the vehicle in tilted condition accidentally also, it should not come out. Otherwise, you park the vehicle somewhere and you went for shopping, and by the time the entire tank is drained. So, that is very important. Okay. So, this is the throat and this is the throttle. So, rest of the things I have explained. So, throttle, more throttle you pull, more air fuel mixture quantity will go in. Let me just show you how this choke works. So, when you pull the choke, this almost closes. So, that means now what will happen? Very small quantity of air will go in, and once the air quantity goes in and you are cranking your engine, so that means suction will be created. So, more vacuum will be created here, because you have constricted the supply. There is some hole, you allow some air, you do not completely choke. If you look at the choke valve, there is always a hole. So, you allow some air to go in, but not free supply of air. So, when you choke it, here the pressure which was 0.3 bar will drop to 0.1 bar or so, and here it is 1 atmosphere. So, more quantity, because of the more pressure difference between these two, more fuel quantity will be injected, and therefore, your cylinder will get richer mixture and you will be able to start in the idling. Okay. So, if you look at this simple carburetor, it consists of 6 different components. One is the float chamber, which is this one. Then you have fuel discharge nozzle, which is this one. Metering orifice is somewhere here. Okay. Metering orifice is here. Then you have venturi, this is the venturi, and then you have throttle valve, this is the throttle valve, and this is the choke. Float chamber. So, this is the float chamber. Let us see what does it do. So, the float and needle valve system maintains a constant level of gasoline in the float chamber. Float and this needle valve, their job is to make sure that you are maintaining a fixed level. Okay. Float chamber is vented either to the atmosphere. Here you have atmospheric pressure, because what happens is when the fuel is going in, if this falls, if this is not vented to atmosphere, there will be some kind of vacuum that will be created, and it will not allow the fuel to go in. So, you have to keep it vented so that there is always 1 atmospheric pressure here. So, either it is vented to the atmosphere or the upstream side of the venturi. Okay. Venturi, this is the venturi. So, a tube of decreasing cross section with a minimum area at the throat. This is the minimum area, and that is why this is called throat, and it is shaped so that it offers the minimum resistance to the airflow. As the air passes through the venturi, the velocity decreases, reaching to maximum at the venturi throat, corresponding the pressure decreases, reaching to a minimum. From the float chamber, the fuel is fed to a discharge jet. This is the discharge jet, the tip of which is located in the throat of the venturi. Okay. Because of the differential pressure here and here between the float chamber and the throat of the venturi, which is known as carburetor depression, the fuel is discharged into the airstream. So, when you pull the choke, this carburetor depression actually increases, and that is why you are able to dump more fuel into small quantity of air, and that is how you enrich the mixture. Let us look at the choke valve. What is the choke valve? This one here. The choke valve controls the air supply in order to provide rich or lean air fuel mixture. So, when you want to provide rich, you close it, and when you want to provide lean, you just put it at minimum resistance level. So when the choke is partly closed, large pressure drop occurs at the venturi, which inducts large quantity of fuel from the main nozzle and provides a very rich mixture. And when you make it vertical, it provides you lean mixture because it does not obstruct the flow. Throttle valve, this is the throttle valve. What is the function? A throttle valve supplies varying quantity of mixture at different load conditions. So when you need more mixture, you pull the accelerator, and that actually increases the vertical nature. When you pull it maximum, this becomes completely vertical. So you are able to supply more and more volume of the fuel air mixture, and you are able to generate more and more power output. You are able to operate the engine at higher and higher engine speed. Fuel nozzle, this is the fuel nozzle. It is used to atomize and produce a fuel spray in the throat of the then you have to do the calculation of air fuel ratio by a simple carburetor. So if you look at this is a little more complicated. What I showed you so far, simple carburetor means very simple concept. Now let us go to a little bit more complicated simple carburetor. So air is coming in from here, this is section 1A, and choke is here. Here you have the throat, here you have the fuel metering orifice, this is the jet which will be discharged. So spray will come in this direction, and this is the throttle valve. This is the float, and this is the needle. Here you have a fuel stainer. Stainer means if there could be some particles in the fuel supply as well, and you want to remove them, because if you don't remove them, it is possible that they may choke this or they may choke this, and they may stop the fuel supply. So that's why you put a stainer. Okay. So if you look at the operation, the fuel supply of a float chamber is controlled by the action of float and attached to a fuel supply valve. During the intake stroke of the engine, the piston moves from TDC to BDC and creates a vacuum in the manifold, suction intake manifold. Due to this fall in pressure, atmospheric air rushes into the carburetor. Near the venturi, the velocity increases, pressure decreases, and fuel oozes out from the jet. The fuel gets mixed with the air and then inducted into the cylinder. Because of the narrow passage in the venturi, the air velocity increases and its pressure falls. This is known as carburetor depression. Now this curve is actually very, very important. You see here, this is the air fuel ratio. This side is the lean side of the air fuel mixture, this side is the rich side of the air fuel mixture. So when you are idling, this is the throttle opening. When you are just idling, that means you are not really pulling any throttle, you need very rich mixture. The moment you start pulling the throttle, the air fuel richness requirement goes down, and then here high idling is almost same as cruising, and then in the cruising range you need lean mixture, say 16 or 17 air fuel ratio, and in the power range again depending on how much throttle you pull. When do you pull? When you need more power, if you have to tell the engine that you need more power, what do? You pull the throttle, that's the only way. So when you pull the throttle beyond a certain level, that means you are telling the engine, okay guy, give me more power, I don't care about the economy, you give me more power output, and that's when your engine will start, carburetor will start enriching the mixture. Now please note that there are two curves here, one is the solid line and the other one is dotted line. So the solid line is for single cylinder engine where there is only one carburetor and one cylinder, and this is multi-cylinder engine. Okay. In multi-cylinder engine, the richness requirement is more. Why more? I'll tell you. See, suppose this is your multi-cylinder engine and this is the carburetor. Okay. Now you have carburetor here, and then there is a common manifold, and from there the air fuel mixture is coming in here, right. Now, what will be the mixture that will be coming out of this carburetor? It will be a mixture of fuel vapor, but there will be lot of droplets, okay, and droplets will have higher inertia. So, when they are traveling in this runner, intake runner, less number of droplets will turn to this side, because they will have higher inertia, and because the inertia force, they will tend to move to the extreme. They will not like to change the direction as far as possible. So, as a result, these cylinders will get low fuel air mixture strength, and these cylinders will get high mixture strength. Okay. So, these cylinders in the center will produce less power, and these cylinders in the extremes will produce more power output. Okay. So, to compensate for this, you actually put in more amount of fuel, and that is why you try to put more richer mixture compared to single cylinder engine. In single cylinder, everything is coming in one cylinder. Okay. So, at idling, you see engine produces power only to overcome the friction, and a rich mixture is required by the engine to sustain the combustion. When the intake valve opens, the pressure difference between the combustion chamber and inlet manifold results in backward initial flow of exhaust gases into the intake manifold. So, exhaust gases may actually come back into the intake manifold. As the piston moves down, when the intake stroke progresses, these exhaust gases are drawn back into the cylinder along with fresh charge. So, fresh charge comes in, and therefore, it is required to provide more rich mixture, which increases the contact between fuel and air, and thus it improves the combustion, and therefore, at idling you need to provide richer fuel air mixtures. Idling system, how do you achieve this? So, if you have to do this, you have to make some provisions in the carburetor in order to give you richer fuel air mixture. So, how do you do that? So, at idling, you have to put an idling system. So, the idling system consists of an idling fuel passage and idling port. So, when the throttle is partly closed, a depression past the throttle valve allows the fuel to go into the intake through the idling tube, and this depression also draws the air through the idling air bleed and mix. Let me explain this to you. Suppose this is your float chamber. Okay, this is the normal throat and main nozzle. So, this is supplying you desired quantity, but at idling you need more quantity. So, for the same air, more fuel should be supplied. So, what you do, close to the throttle you provide another pipe, which is called idling jet. Okay, and there is a screw here, and there is a air bleed. So, the air is coming in, fuel is sucked in, and here you see there will be a lot of vacuum, because it is closed, it is located very close to the throttle. So, it is basically making some kind of a passage, narrow passage. So, the air velocity will be very high, and because of that the low pressure zone will be created here. Because of this low pressure zone, this fuel air mixture will be sucked in, okay, and air comes in from here and fuel comes in from here, and both are injected, okay, and here there is a adjusting screw. So, you must have seen that if you go to a mechanic with your scooter, what he does, he adjusts a jet. He says, I am adjusting the jet. What is that jet? It is this. So, what he is doing is, he is starting the engine, he is adjusting this jet, so that he is able to obtain a certain minimum air fuel ratio even when the throttle is completely at 0 level, okay, and that is how you are able to basically get richer air fuel mixture. Now, when you pull in the cruise condition, there will be no vacuum here, and because there is no vacuum, obviously there will be no additional fuel flow. So, the fuel flow will stop. It will this system, idling system, will only work when you are idling, okay.